guys, what's up? It's your girl Karaleise. How you guys doing? Today we're going to be talking about workshops. Yes, it's one of those things that I really haven't done a lot of videos on, and to be honest, I really need to start doing more of videos on these because as a business analyst, at some point you're going to be asked to do a workshop. They're either going to want you to do a requirements workshop or a solution ideation workshop, and you have to have the skills to know how to facilitate these workshops and what things to avoid, how to plan it properly, how to make sure you make the most out of it when you have a whole room of people trying to come up with ideas together or tell you their problems in a group setting. So we need to work on that. In this video, we're going to talk about how to set up a workshop and how to work through a workshop, how to facilitate it, how to manage it, all of those things that you need to know about workshops. So I've got your back. Let's run over to my office and let's talk together and work together on workshops. See you in a minute. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at this presentation, and this is actually a question that somebody got when they went up for their interview, where they were given this problem and they were told to come back and present it. So I'm using it for two reasons. One, it's going to help you to see how you would approach this if you were given this kind of thing in an interview setting. And two, if you need to do a workshop for yourself, right? If you need to pull together people to uncover the real requirements, meaning that they have a concept of what's wrong and what they possibly could do to solve it, but they don't have the answers and they're not sure exactly what those requirements should be to get the answer to solve the problem, right? So this presentation solves both of those things. So in this case, this person went up for interview and they were given this question, and the question was, present your approach for organizing a requirements gathering workshop touching on the following questions. How would you go about defining a problem statement? What should be your approach to confirm goals and desired outcomes with your business stakeholders across cross-functional areas? How would you ensure that the new technology will address the goals and outcomes? What metrics should be established to track success? So those are the questions that we need to answer in this presentation, and those are also the questions that you need to know about when you're doing your actual workshop. So it serves two purposes, this video. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, if I was going to present this and to also clarify for you, is why we do workshops. We use workshops because it's a short time to gather requirements, right? You don't have a lot of time. You need to get this thing solved really quickly. You have a large amount of subject matter experts and stakeholders to talk to and to interview. If you were to go by one, it will really take a long time. Groups can provide large number of requirements faster. Workshops help validate the requirements on the spot. So you're in a group, you're all there together. If somebody says something that's not correct, somebody else is going to catch it, right? And you can correct each other and validate your requirements very, very quickly. Having multiple people looking at a process can inspire discussion, and that is difficult to have in individual interviews. So when you're having your individual stakeholder interviews, it's just one-on-one, their idea and then your idea. But when you have more people together, for some reason, there's just more creativity. Humans are like that. Whenever we're together in a bigger group and we start thinking together in the same consciousness, I would say, we tend to create and we solve problems and we really make breakthroughs because of the group focusing on this one particular thing. So those are the reasons why we use workshops. Now, when you're doing a workshop, the thing to consider is because there's so many people, right? You have to make sure you are clear on the number of participants that you need. So you don't want to have too many people show up and you don't have enough chairs, or the room is big enough for everybody to be there and they're uncomfortable, people are standing, and it can be very distracting, right? So you need to be cautious of how many participants you need for the space that you have, or if it's virtual, you still don't want it to be a humongous meeting. I've been in meetings where there's like 100 people, 200 people. It's not helpful. It's too many people. So how can you narrow it down to get the most valuable people who can add the most value, and then run the workshop with them? You don't need a workshop with 200 people. It's way too much, right? So you need to be careful as to who you include. You have to identify the vision at the beginning of the workshop. What are you trying to accomplish? What would each participant gain from being a part of your workshop? And then there's activities to engage them. So you don't just want to show up and just be talking. One or two people take over the conversation, and it's like everybody else is like bored. Like, why are they there? You want it to be engaging for the entire group, right? So you need to have your materials that you're going to use or your tools. So if you're physically there, you can have a whiteboard, a flip chart, sticky notes, all the different things to keep their attention and to get everybody engaged. If you're doing it virtually, then you have your Miro board, your mural, your Google Jamboard, whatever you can use to have groups join and add value to it. That would be great. Those are the tools that I think would be helpful for virtual meetings, especially Miro. I really like Miro. In my last video where I talked about the UAT process, I did that using Miro. And I have another video that is about the tools that business analysts use. I also mentioned Miro there, and there's other tools there as well. But you can check out those two videos to get more, information about tools that you can use to facilitate your workshop. Now, what are the things to avoid in a workshop? So when you're putting together a requirements workshop, you have to make sure you avoid these things. So discussion dominated by one person. I've seen this happen so many times where one person is just over involved, right? They always want to answer the question. They have the most comments to make, and it's just their voice, their voice, their voice. And after a while, it's like, we want the rest of the group to participate. Because what happens is when that one person dominates the conversation, the other people feel like they don't have to answer because he's going to answer anyway. And he's going to say what they were thinking. And they just kind of get lazy. Their brain starts to turn off. So you really don't want them to become just silent participants. You want them to be engaged. And so when you have one person taking over, you have to shut that person down in a nice way, right? You have to kind of get them to give other people a chance, and you open up the floor and say, does anybody else have anything else to add? Blah, blah, blah. Try to get them engaged as much as possible. And if there's dead silence, it's okay. Let the dead silence sit until somebody's uncomfortable enough to say something to break it. It always works. People just don't like to be in a group with nothing's going on. Nobody's saying anything. So somebody will say something. And then you get the ball rolling from there. So don't be afraid of dead silences either. Feeling of being judged. So in a group setting, people are more shy. People are more reserved because they don't want to sound stupid. They don't want to sound like they've said some silly idea. They don't want to be judged. And so you have to establish at the beginning of your workshop that this is a judgment-free zone, that any idea is welcome, that we can even have the most ridiculous idea. We're taking it because it's supposed to be an open forum where we can discuss freely and we can take things on the table. And if it doesn't make sense later on, we take it off. But it's okay to put all kinds of things out there and we see if they can work. Now, you need to explain the expectation very clearly at the beginning. So no bad ideas. There's no idea anybody's going to give that's going to be a bad idea. Every idea is valid, right? Everyone should participate. It is a group session. It's a workshop. We're all here working towards some goal, and everybody needs to add some value to it. Now, when you open the workshop, you talk at the beginning about why they're there. What's the vision? What's the value of the exercise? And then you try to get some icebreakers. Icebreakers help people to start talking, and once they do, then other things come out of their mouth that will be helpful, hopefully. So the icebreakers you could do could be in a professional, corporate setting. You don't want to be too raunchy with it, but 2 truths and a lie, where you can tell 2 truths about the company and a lie about the company, for example. You can do little Jeopardy games. There's so many little things you can do to get people just laughing and talking and breaking the ice and feeling comfortable and feeling like they all are welcome there, right? Then you want to lead the discussion by getting up and going to the whiteboard or drawing on the virtual whiteboard, which is their online version. So you physically wouldn't get up if you're virtual, right? But you want to own the session. You want them to know that there's somebody in charge and that person is you. So you're going to be the one talking. You're the one passing it off to the next person. You're the one facilitating the whole meeting. And if you're physically there, you're getting up and you're walking to the whiteboard and drawing on the whiteboard and doing all of that stuff like a presenter. You have to show that there is one person in this entire group that is managing everything. If you're sitting and you're just blending in with everybody else, it feels like there is no leader. And that might be okay for the type of workshop you're trying to do, but somebody has to kind of corral the group, and they have to see who that person is by either hearing your voice because you're on virtual or seeing you physically because you'll be standing up. Now, defining the problem is one of the things that you need to make sure you come to the workshop with a problem that you're going to spend the workshop time trying to solve, right? Or trying to dive deeper into. So have a vision statement of the outcome of the project, right? What are we trying to accomplish? What is the value to be derived from this? Confirm how it is right now. So in the workshop, you can ask, okay, this is the process that we know it to be. We go here, then we go here, then we do that. Is this true? And they can confirm because the people who know it are in the room, right? Ask the workshop participants to define where they have problems. So sometimes in these requirements workshops, here's what we're doing today. That's the as is state. This step goes to here, decisions make here, documents goes here, this person hands off to this person. All of what you're trying to do within the scope of what you're trying to solve for, you would have had an as is state. And then you ask them, what's the problem that you have with this process and that process and moving from here to here, etc. But they have something visual to refer to because you would have done the as is process flow. I find that to be very helpful. Then, as you're defining the problem, you want to target the user. Who is the person having this problem? Which user role, which user type, which user avatar? Define the problem from the user's perspective. So what is the user trying to do and how are they being impeded of doing this because of whatever the system or whatever the problem is or the process? Understand when and where the problem occurs. So you have to pinpoint, okay, this user doing this functionality is having these problems at this point. Because again, you need to get down to the root of the problem so that your requirements can be solving the real problem. Okay. Now, methods to get to the problem, you can start by using the 5 whys, which I like, which is why is this happening? Then why is that other thing happening? And the whys, there are not enough of this, and then why and why and why. So, for example, in this case, there is like a health account problem that they're trying to solve for. So we start off by saying, why are healthy accounts churning, right? So healthy accounts that look like they're healthy on paper, all of a sudden the client just says, we're not going to renew. And you're like, what? Right? That was a problem for some of the companies I've worked with. And it's like, why are healthy accounts churning? It doesn't make any sense. They don't have any problems. They've never been complaining. They seem to be happy with the product. But when it comes to renewal time, they don't renew. Why? Then the second why would be, why didn't we know they were unhealthy? So it started off with a general question. Healthy accounts are churning. Why? And then, okay, why didn't we know they were unhealthy? Because if they really were healthy, they wouldn't be churning. If they were healthy, meaning that they have good customer service, they like everything, they have good report about the communication, the relationship they're building with us, all of these indicators of health were in green, but they still churn, which means that the indicators of health is incorrect. It's not healthy. It's unhealthy. There's something that we missed. Why are healthy accounts churning is because they were in fact unhealthy. Why didn't we know they were unhealthy is the follow-up question. And that's because there wasn't enough engagement. That would be the answer. Why wasn't there enough engagement? Third why. And the answer there was because the CSM has many accounts and it's not easy to tell which ones need more attention. Okay. And then why isn't it easy to tell which accounts need more attention? Because there is no indication to track accounts that may churn. Getting closer. You see what I'm talking about? And now the fifth why isn't there indication to track accounts that may churn? There was never any data used to show trends towards churn. So by the time you get to the fifth why, you understand exactly what it is that the problem really stems from. It's the fact that you can't indicate that the accounts may churn. That's the real source of the problem. And then the solution needs to be, you need to have some kind of data to help you identify more accurately when an account is about to churn. And that would solve the original question, which is why are healthy accounts churning? So that's an example of how you can use the 5 whys to dig deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to the real source. And sometimes when you get down to this last level of why, that's one thing. If you could solve that one thing, you may solve all the other whys above it. All the other reasons why everything else that was asked above couldn't happen. When you solve the fifth why, sometimes you solve the others by default. I mean, it's not an exact science. It doesn't happen for every single problem, but it's a good example right here for you to see how you can dive deeper into a problem to get to the real source. And by solving that one thing down there, you solve other things as well. So problem statement examples. How do you write problem statements? Now, this is something you could do as a group, or you could just take from all of the feedback you got in there and just write something on the whiteboard, and that's what it is for now. And later on, you can go back and tweak it. But in general, you'd say, as a type of user, I need this feature, I need something, right? In order to accomplish some goal I have. So that's the problem, that I need something to accomplish this goal. I don't have the thing I need. So for example, as a CSM, I need to be able to detect when an account is unhealthy so that I can work towards preventing churn. That's a great example of a problem statement. And then to solve this problem, we use the how might we statement. This is another workshop. You wouldn't do the two in the same setting, the same day, the same place. You'd want to break it up into problem workshop and solution workshop. So right now this presentation is about problem workshop, but in general, if you have the problem, now you know where to go to find the solution. So the solution typically comes from your analysis and Dev telling you what's possible and what's not possible, right? The people who have the problem typically don't have all the details to know what the solution is. They just know they have a problem, it needs to be fixed. They don't know how you go about doing that fix. So by the time you get the problem cleared up or you have your problem statement, now you need to clarify what is your solution. So you go into another workshop, separate workshop, and you start brainstorming all of these different things you're going to get, and people start coming up with all different types of answers, and eventually you'll probably vote or you do some other mechanism to narrow it down to the best answer. So in this case, we have how might we statement. So if we know the problem is that they're not able to detect when an account is unhealthy, the question would now be how might we detect when an account is unhealthy? One person says, oh, we have this data we could use from this category and pull it over here. Or this other person says we could do this report, and this other person says we could have this manual check where you can check that it's unhealthy. Whatever. There may be many, many, many solutions. But when you ask how might we, you're opening your audience up to come up with the ideas that could solve the problem you're looking for. And some of those ideas are very good. And you just take them, write detailed requirements off of them, hand them over to your technical team. Okay, so that's a very good thing to be able to ask how might we questions. Now, the activities to define the problem. So while you're defining the problem, there's activities. You could be just writing it on the whiteboard, everybody can see it, or you could be doing other things. You could do creative games for that, right? So mind mapping obviously is a good one. Create the process map together on the board so they can see as each step moves to the next step and make corrections if it's not correct. And then you can do innovative games. I love the innovative games. So let's look at the mind map. This is a mind map. So you start off with a big idea and then you branch out and you eventually have something that may look like that with so many different options, right? That's what mind mapping does. And then process map, you could just be talking about the process, and as they're doing that, you're walking through the board and adding those process steps and those decisions along the way. And that's how you do it together. And then you have the innovative games, which I love. So for example, Speedboat. With Speedboat, you draw a boat, right? And then the features that the audience doesn't like are anchors. Anchors are holding you down. So whatever you don't like about this feature, you draw it as an anchor and it's tying down the boat. But this is supposed to be a speedboat. It should be going fast. It should be tied down with these things, right? And then the boat needs to go as fast as it can. But the anchors are weighing it down. This would help to identify what people do not like about the current system or the current process or the current tool. And so what you'll do now is you will try to remove as much of those anchors as possible. Now, the other game that I think would be helpful in a workshop setting is the buy a feature game. So buy a feature is, here are all these features, but they cost money. So I'll give you some money up front and then you'll buy features and I can tell which features you find the most valuable because you put the most money on it, right? So teams work together to purchase their most desired features, make sure they can afford it. And you have the how might we with the problem to help solve the things that are left, because they would not spend their money on things that they love. So if anything is left, it means they don't like it. And it's like the anchors on the speedboat, right? You need to get rid of it. Now, you do those games, and then once you've done that, you would be getting more insight as to what it is that the audience likes and doesn't like about the features that you're looking at and you're attempting to solve problems for. So Approach to confirm goals and desired outcomes with stakeholders. So how would you achieve the goals that you want to the stakeholders? It's a very big question. So it's an iterative process to arrive at a desired outcome. You're not going to get it one and done sometimes. Sometimes you have to do 2-3 workshops because everybody has a different opinion on different things. Some people want it blue, some people want purple, some people want red. Who knows? You end up with yellow probably, right? But you need to be able to come up with an approach for this. So there's an iterative process to arrive at desired outcomes. You derive high-level requirements in the workshop. So you're not trying to get down into the details in the workshop. It's too much people to get into the weeds. So it's really just a high level. What do they like to see at a higher level? And then they come up with detailed and detailed requirements afterwards. So once you get the high level things, you get the things that are bogging down the speedboat, the things that are not being bought with the buyer feature, right? These are the leftover things, and you'll be like, okay, nobody likes these features. Nobody wants this. I wonder why. And then you do your analysis over that. So you get into the details after you know what exactly has, kind of not passed, right? The test. Discuss with your development team. So once you've figured out, okay, we need to remove this, we need to tweak this, we need to add this, etc., then you need to speak with your dev team because they know how to do it. All of this exercise you're doing with the workshop is figuring out what to do. But once you figure out what to do, you have to figure out how to do it. And that's where the dev team comes in. They will know how to do the things that we're trying to do. We have to be able to tell them what it is that we actually want to do. So walk through detailed requirements and the goals and outcomes with stakeholders to confirm that the solution will solve the problem statement. So once the workshop has given you all of these issues and you've done your due diligence and you think you have a good solution, before you go off and have anybody build anything, you need to make sure that you are correct and that what you're going to build will solve the problem. You don't want to do something that they're not going to agree with, right? So that's what you do there. And then to ensure that the new technology will address the goals and the outcomes, once you've spoken to the team and you've collaborated with them and you've said to them, hey, this is what we're coming up with, and they said yes, then you have a clear go ahead. So the trick to this is to collaborate and to talk, to be transparent, to talk about what's not going to work and what is going to work so that they can give you the sign off, right? And then once you're doing that, you should be trying to track some kind of metric. It's not easy to track, and I'm not saying that you have to track, but being able to say, okay, this is the number of adoption that we gained because of the change, or to have some feedback from the UAT testers to say they're satisfied, some level of satisfaction metric, or the number of bugs that you've released is much less than before. So you need some kind of metric to show that you're making progress and success in the workshop. Now, when the workshop comes to the close, then you need to thank everyone for their time, remind them of the vision and the progress that you stated at the beginning, and confirm now at the end that you have accomplished that. And then there's some next steps, follow-ups that would have come out of the discussion. You want to be able to reiterate those next steps. And then you want to have a short follow-up with them, right? To say, here's what we talked about, here's what we agreed to, here's what we're going to do, right? So I think you don't have to have the follow-up all the time. You could send out like an email, that will be enough. But it would be great to be able to pull everybody together and say, this is the outcome of the workshop, et cetera, et cetera. All right? So you define the problem. You confirm the goals and desired outcomes with your business stakeholders across cross-functional areas. You ensure that the new technology will address the goals and the outcomes, and it has some metrics to track success. And that is how you would, one, present this if you were asked this question in an interview, and two, use this information for you in your next workshop. All right? So that's it about creating requirements workshops. All right, so that was the video on workshops. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. And check out my videos on other topics such as UAT and requirements solicitation and interview process, all the stuff that you need to start your careers here. So go check it out. Also check out my website, Karaleise.com. I have templates up there. I have documents up there for free. There's free courses, there's free stuff. Go and get that. And also check out my podcast. I have a podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Wherever you get your podcast, you'll find it. It's called Real World Business Analysis with Karaleise. All right, go check that out and give me some more support. Like this video, share the video with your friends and your coworkers. Come on, share the video. Let the love spread. Right? And I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.